Please introduce yourself and share your career story with us.
I was at Myntra for 4.5 years. My last role was business manager in the growth and revenue team. I was owner of acquisition business metric, user acquisition. Prior to that, I had a 1 year stint at Mu Sigma as a data analyst. So overall, I have 5.5 years of experience. Before that, I did my undergrad in computer science from MIT Manipal. This has been mostly my academics background and professional background.
What was your thought process behind which schools you wanted to apply to, and why did you choose those schools?
Even before doing my MBA, my career track was already on a business side. So in Myntra itself, I joined as a data analyst, but then I got an opportunity to move to business roles. Right, from data analyst, when I got my promotion, I decided to be in customer acquisition profile, which is a pure business metric. My reason for doing an MBA was majorly around the career growth, that too acceleration in career growth, because I knew that this is the career track I want to be in. I didn't really want to switch my profile as such. So I thought that maybe doing an MBA will basically provide me a platform to accelerate my career. So and this was kind of an anecdotal experience as well as empirical. I saw all my office seniors who are basically the leaders right now in various startup companies. So something common amongst all of them was they all have an MBA degree. So without an MBA, I realized that I could reach only to such and such position, and after that there will be a glass ceiling. That was my major reason. And since I wanted to stay in Indian startup space, so going abroad was not really an option for me. And since I already had a 5 years of work ex, 2 years MBA was too much of an opportunity cost for me. 1 year MBA is all that I actually thought of, that will do a 1 year MBA, and post that will stay in the same space itself. So that was my overall thought process behind doing the MBA and the colleges that I picked.
You wrote the GMAT last year. So how was the GMAT preparation experience as well as the test, the test strategies and the test experience? Especially what challenges did you face due to the COVID scenario? And
what happened was I decided to write my GMAT around March and April. But what happened due to COVID, there was a business shutdown, and post lockdown, we had to again start from scratch, setting up all the business strategies, and at a tactical level also had to do a lots of things, right, to get customers back into the online shopping mode, right. So all these things took a lot of my time. So I actually was almost 2 to 3 months late in starting my GMAT prep. I thought of doing it in March, April at max, but I actually could start only by July. That was a miss at my end. I think anyone who would want to go for a GMAT prep, they should ideally have 4 5 months in their hand. So because I started off late, is IIM ABC's first round, which was I think August, and ISB was also I think in the second week or 18th or 19th of September. I was preparing for GMAT as well as working on application with you, right? And at the same time, my office work was also going on. That time, my office was kind of on a recovery mode. So the work stress never really, went down for me. So I had to juggle between GMAT prep as well as office. So that was quite difficult. Had I been more proactive in writing my GMAT, I could have scored also better. And maybe I would have done better in GMAT application and all. So that is something I must say, if I have to change one thing, with the hindsight, then I would basically do my GMAT first. We'll keep 3 4 months for that. We'll write my GMAT. If I have to apply again this year, I think this is the best time to start preparing for GMAT. Get done with GMAT by July, and then have and give yourself 1.5 months for application. For me, I couldn't do that. I still remember my GMAT exam was on 17th or 18th, and ISB's application deadline was on 19th. So it was quite difficult.
And what about the application experience in that case? Doing multiple applications at the same time, what are the things to prioritize? What are the most important things in the application preparation?
Yeah, the basic thing that one needs to do is the story building. If one gets to tell the story, because the story would more or less remain the same for most of the colleges. We can make tweaks. The basic crux of the story remains same, but the most difficult part is actually the story building part. That which story should I actually say? While working on my application, we worked on what to present and all, because there were multiple things which are coming up, and it was giving a question that why should I even do an MBA, right? So that's the most difficult question to answer. It would have been very difficult without your help, to be very honest, because I was so perplexed uh, preparing that story. Once a person writes an essay, no, there is a bias that automatically, pops up, right? If I'm writing something, I will always have that bias. This is fine. This story is fine. This story, colleges will accept this story, but that is not always the case. The best of the stories, which might be shortlisted, right? That's not the real case always, and that could actually be counterintuitive. Maybe the college could think that, okay, this guy has already done so much, why should I even admit this guy? Rather give someone who is actually needing an MBA. Right? Prepare the story, spend good enough time on that. Once the basic crux of the story is done, it's easier maybe then to split the stories in separate parts, or maybe like answer the different essays. Story building is the most important part in essays. And that for that, I think good 20 days time that should do. Like I had 5 years of experience. There were people who were having 9 or 10 years of experience, right? It's very difficult to go back to all those years and then pick up 3 or 4 stories, because at the end of the day we only have 400 or 500 words to play with, right? So the story building, and once the story is done, it need not be also, in a proper essay format or so. It can be very rough draft and all. After that, beautification and all simplification, that is always possible, but the basic story crux is the most important thing in application.
And what about the interview experience? So you've given a whole lot of interviews. How was the preparation and how was the experience?
Yeah, so basically, I got a chance to give interviews at ABC, all the 3 institutions. So at A, the interview experience was quite. Actually prepared the most. I gave some 5, 6 mock interviews with you. I also did some mock interviews with my office colleagues and seniors who have already done their MBAs. So I almost did some 10, 12 interviews before I actually appeared for IIMA interview, right? But what happened was the interview was completely out of syllabus, if I have to use that word.
Unexpected.
Unexpected. I mean, like the question that I prepared for, like why MBA, why IIMA, what's your career story, what are the challenges, etc., etc. I mean, like so since I work in startup e-commerce, so I read a lot about my industries, right? So I was kind of taken aback when the questions were like at a very, the questions were like in one sentence, explain your philosophy of professional life, like very random questions, right? Why do you think Tata is such an old company? Why do you think Tata never had a decision science wing before? I mean, like team before 1990s and all that. So there are very, very random questions. And there is also this extempore, which happens in IIMA, right? So people usually take a middle ground so that to avoid getting against or getting in support of the motion, right? The professor who interviewed me, the first thing he said that you can't do a middle ground. You have to pick a choice, right? I didn't really expect my interview to go on this line. But this was the interview. Now that I look back on hindsight, it was a great experience to do something out of the meal. Since I got short, selected after the interview. I think one thing that worked in my favor was quite taken aback and been grilled by the interviewers. Even though I was very nervous and stressed inside, I didn't really show it outside. I always had a very smiling face. If there was some disagreement with what professor was saying, I didn't really stress out on that. I accepted. I tried to use words like, okay, I would like to disagree over here. I didn't really like to force fit my arguments. On a behavioral note, I'm like, these things could really help. That shows, I think, maybe this guy is prepared to handle stressful situation. I think that's what the professors would look for in the interviews as well, because they also kind of know that people come with prepared question answers and all. In extempore, people will always have different opinions. So there is no right or wrong answers to that, right? It's how we keep our demeanor, how we present our point of views. We should be firm in our views, but at the same time, we should never come across as disrespectful to the person with whom we're debating. Right? So these were the behavioral points I think that worked in my favor for that. I also interviewed at B and C. My interview was mostly around my startup, I mean, like e-commerce, that too. So all the questions were in my range that I could answer properly. There was no bouncer as such. There were a couple of grilling questions like why does Indian e-commerce space concentrate so much on pricing and discounting? That is basically burning more money to acquire customers. Is there any better way of doing that? So these were the, like, if any person who has done work in his industry is well read about his industry, it should not be a very difficult thing. I mean, like, to crack those interviews. C's interview, I would say that was the easiest for me amongst all the three. The question were again two halves were there. First half it was all around my e-commerce thing, which was similar to B. Though the grilling was not till that level, we just wanted to check if I have knowledge or not. In fact, one of the professor, I think, he even opened the Mintra app and asked me a couple of questions that why do you do this and that. So basically, this was to say that I actually do the work that I mentioned in the application, right? So that is it. And second half was mostly on it was a behavioral test that why do you want to do an MBA? You already have people reporting to you. Why? How can MBA help you and all that? So yeah, C was, I would say, the easiest one. There was no grilling as such. Yeah, and A was the toughest. Yeah.
So you had multiple offers. So how did you
Yeah.
decide between the offers and, among the offers in terms of what were the points that mattered to you? And
What drove me to choose A over other colleges was that the classes is 140, so it's not very less like 60s or 70s, which is in B and C. So there is good enough diversity and cohort, as well as and it's basically very optimum class size. It's not like 700 or 800 where you won't really get the differential treatment, as I mean, like, which happens in a college with a very large batch size. So you know all the people, you can have one-to-one interaction with professors, and the batch size is also not too less to be like, oh, there is no not much diversity itself. So one was the batch size. Second, of course, was the brand tag of A. There's no doubt about it. I mean, like, at a household level, A still has the highest best brand perception. I mean, like, which would help in the long run for sure. I didn't really have that short term thing of this is the placement that I would get from A or B or C. All right, I thought that if I have to grow up the ladder in the startup ecosystem, and let's say in 10 years down the line, you have to be a CXO, something like that. Maybe the brand tag of A would help a lot than any other colleges. One was that, and third, the way A's academy, I mean, like, the course curriculum was designed, that I thought, in A, what happens is the first couple of terms, they call it building blocks, which is basically the theoretical aspects of the education, right? So that's something I really wanted to have a hang of, because in my previous role at Mintra, I was only looking at one function, right? I didn't have a holistic view of the overall business. So have a good grasp of the theoretical aspect of business fundamentals is also equally important. So that is one thing. And second, A also stresses a lot on preparation for top management. They have couple of terms only dedicated to this. So this actually provides a springboard to get into a leadership role. These were basically the major factors for me to choose A over other colleges.
what would be some tips and suggestions for people who are planning to apply now?
First thing, write your GMAT. There is no point delaying writing the GMAT. GMAT score actually shows how well prepared are you to take the academic rigor in colleges. Rigor in this 1 year programs are way higher than the 2 years program. Like, at least this is what I have figured out from speaking to alums, the professors, and all. Because the time space is so cramped, right? When the admission committee will look at your profile, your high GMAT score will always do good for you. So I mean, you can get into college with a average GMAT score or below average GMAT score. That is doable, but a higher GMAT score will always add value. First thing is to get done with your GMAT, and how to prepare for that. It's simply depend on individual to individual. For me personally, I could not really manage to do self study because of my office hours. My office hours were not consistent given the pandemic period and all. So I had to take GMAT coaching to get a structure to my preparation. But there are many people who actually score as high as 70 to 760 just doing self study. So this is a very individualistic choice what a person wants to do, completely dependent on their strengths and weaknesses. First, get done with your GMAT. Second, I would say the application bit. All the applications, even India or outside India, the story thing is very much important. Which story would you want to showcase? I would really suggest that it's better to take help from someone professional, because MBA is a big investment. It's better to use all the levers that one can have. There is no harm in taking a professional consultant's help in going for application, right? Because personally, I felt that if I would have to do things on my own, I would have missed out on many points, right? Because at the end of the day, the person who would review my essays and all, they would be my colleagues, they would be my seniors, right? And it's actually very hard to expect of them also to provide their 100% time to my essays and all, right? Which you can actually expect from a professional who's help you're seeking, and that is actually very important. I still remember I used to ping you like 10 times a day, like this for every small changes and all. That I can't really expect to do to I mean, like a colleague or senior or even a friend. Right? So these things are, and a professional has all worked on so many applications. They know what colleges actually look for, what stories would actually make a cut. MBA is a big investment. Like it's the biggest investment in terms of monetary, in terms of time in your career, right? So there is no harm in taking additional help if it ensures that you get your dream college. Yeah. So take help from a professional. Give 20-25 days just to figure out the story that you want to write. I mean, like there will be questionnaires and all that, answering them. You also get to know a lot about yourself, and these things help when you actually give the interviews as well. Because what happens in the day-to-day life, you often don't introspect a lot, right? So we often fail to I mean, like appreciate our pros, as well as we fail to acknowledge our cons. So while writing this questionnaires and all that, that helps to find our own inner self. So that's a very good experience. I really enjoy doing that. I would I would ask everyone to do that. And third is, yeah, once your story is done, then every college, they would have their separate set of I mean, like essays or what, like B and C don't even have essays, they have a cover letter. So that format is different. So there you can always, I mean, like the professional which you are seeking help from, they can always help you with the how to, I mean, like present your story. So yeah, these are the things.